All right. Good morning. Looks like I got sound at least to OBS. As is somewhat alarmingly typical, all of a sudden my nose is running, so I need to run and blow my nose, and I'll be right back. We'll actually get started. It was the universe's way of telling me that I forgot my water over there, actually. That works out. All right. Good morning to everyone and anyone that may be watching. Happy Saturday. Welcome. Thanks for watching. For anybody that might be new, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. Typically, I'm working on stuff related to CircuitPython. If you don't know anything about CircuitPython, you can learn more at the main website for it, circuitpython.org. This is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. There's a bunch of pictures of them here. Most typically, you will plug these devices into your computer with a USB cable. They will show up like a little tiny thumb drive. On that thumb drive, there'll be a Python code file, code.py. You can open that file in a text editor or an IDE or whatever you want, really, and edit it, make changes, and save it. Once you save it, the microcontroller, the actual computer on these little devices, will actually read and execute that Python code for you. So that's kind of like the 50,000-foot view of what we're doing. Specifically, I'm working on the Cardputer, M5 stack Cardputer. Let's see here. Let me do this. Okay, and the thing that I am working on, there's a couple of prior streams if you want to see part of my randomly generated private key. It's right there on my screen, so that's nice. If you want to see the prior kind of work on this same project, there are a couple of streams that you can go back and watch. But in a quick version of it is it's basically a messenger app that allows you to chat between whoever has this device on the keyboard. Obviously, you can type whatever message you want, and then the other person will have loaded a web page that is actually hosted by this device. This device runs a little web server inside of it. Somebody else loads up a web page that's hosted by this device and then can chat back and forth using the web server with HTTP post requests and then WebSockets to tell the front end when new messages come in. How's it going, Tyth? Yep, public keys. So I've been messing with CircuitPython RSA the last couple of days in the kind of beginning steps of what I need to make this work. Let me do a quick shout out and introduction as well, just for anybody, again, that might be new or catching this in the future. If you don't know, CircuitPython, it's open source. Anyone's allowed to use open source on your own hardware. You're even allowed to port it to your own hardware if you want. You don't have to pay anybody to do that. I mean, you need to pay a developer if you can't do it yourself, but like you don't have to pay a license or anything like that. Adafruit, though, this is their website, adafruit.com. Adafruit is the company that makes that possible. They are paying the folks who do work on the CircuitPython project. So it's an open source project. Anyone's allowed to use it for free. Adafruit's paying the people who work on it to do so, including a team of folks who work on it full time, and some folks like me who work on it part time are being paid to do so by them. So if you want to help support them and CircuitPython, one of the easiest ways to do that is just head over to adafruit.com and purchase hardware from them. They manufacture and design hardware over in New York, and you can buy not only like the microcontroller devices that run CircuitPython, you can also buy all sorts of kind of add-ons, right? Accessories, things that you can plug in and attach and wire up that do extra stuff with your microcontroller. So head over there, get yourself some toys. Thank you for doing so. Thanks to Adafruit, as always, for making all of this possible. So, Yeah, let's start briefly with like where we're at on RSA with CircuitPython. So RSA encryption, public key, private key encryption. For anybody that doesn't know, the kind of core concept of this is there's two keys. One key encrypts the data and the other key decrypts the data. What I would like to do with the Messenger app is implement this public key encryption basically from both sides, if that makes sense. So the Messenger will have its own public and private key pair that belong to the actual device itself, and then every user who's allowed to send messages back and forth will also have their own public and private key pair. The way it will work is whenever a message is getting sent from the handset, sorry, cat trying to figure out how destructive he can be. The answer is fairly destructive. Where are we at? Okay, so when you send a message from this thing out, the message will get encrypted with the public key of whoever it's going to. So if we're sending a message to, Susie from this handset, then we're already going to have Susie's public key. We're going to encrypt that message with Susie's public key. We're going to send it, and then the only people who can then decrypt that message are the ones with Susie's private key, presumably Susie. In the web browser page, it's going to have it loaded up as a cookie or some kind of storage or something, or like they'll be able to enter it if they want to decrypt the message. And then whenever they want to send a message back to the handset, it's kind of the reverse. The client-side web page where that message is getting sent from, Susie's web page that she has loaded in her browser, that page is going to have the public key to the handset. It's going to encrypt that message before it sends it with the public key, and then the handset can decrypt it on the other side. So there's kind of a lot of moving parts, but it's not that complex, I guess, once you kind of get your head wrapped around it. One thing I will mention is it is most typical, the most typical way that you will find these keys that are used this way, for me at least, I guess I should say the most typical way that I have found them. Maybe it's not actually the most typical for everyone, but what I have found is what I will commonly see are these kinds of files. This begin RSA public key. There's maybe a few different variations of this. Maybe it says RSA, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a little bit different. But there's like a header, a footer, and then a bunch of like base 64 or something that looks like it in the middle. The private key looks the same way. I'll show you this one because it's not actually private. I checked it in as an example. It's a little bit bigger, but it's basically the same thing. Header, footer, bunch of data in the middle. On CircuitPython, though, we can't actually load those files. In order to load those files, we would need to be able to use... Whoa, why are these like this? Okay, hold on. Let's go look at one other thing. Are other libraries like that? They like randomly change the way that RST is interpreted? And entertain a slight fork in the road here. Okay, no, those are fine. That's weird. I don't know why those are like that. Anyway. Okay, yeah. Docs is actually what I want, which is why I got distracted by it. Although it is kind of tough on the docs, right? These docs are just a big list. It's not super easy to figure out what you need to do, if I'm honest. Basically, though, in order to load one of those files, we would need to use this function, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe this function. There's two different ones. There's two different formats. I will preface also a lot of this with I don't really know that much about what I'm talking about. So basically, everything that I say is kind of like subject to being wrong. OpenSSL scripting, much joy. Yep. Yeah, how's it going, Bear? So I don't really know the difference between these two formats. My understanding is one or the other is this thing here. Maybe that's wrong, maybe that's right. But that's what I think is that we would need to use one of these functions if we wanted to load this thing. The bit that makes that tricky, though, is that those functions don't actually work on CircuitPython. It ultimately is inside of key here. And where did it go? Let's see. I chased this the other day. So it's like, here. It's like, here's one of them. And that just calls, so the PEM one calls the DER one. The DER one is right here. And one of the first things that it does is import some more stuff. It imports this. It tries to import this and this. And this pi ASN1, this is an external dependency. Listed right here. Pi ASN1. I don't know that much about this. I think this is like a data format or something, which I guess is what the key is stored in, or something. One way or another, though, the code that's trying to load those keys is trying to use this pi ASN1. This is a CPython thing. It doesn't really work on CircuitPython. I tried it. I tried chasing each problem that popped up and fixing them one at a time, and it didn't really seem like there was an end in sight, so I gave up. I think that it's like technologically possible that it could work on CircuitPython if you rewrote the parts of this library that this thing is trying to use as like pure Python that's made for CircuitPython, but I don't necessarily think I have the capability to do that. So what I have done, what I have noticed is that there's another way that you can create a key. If we go back to the docs, there is a constructor. There's an initializer function. You can pass, for the public key, you can pass in two numbers, N and E, and it will create a public key from those two numbers. And for the private key, there's basically the same thing, but it takes more than two. Private key right there. There's this constructor. And again, there's like a load function on the private key too, but like it's the same thing. We can't really use it. So, but there is a constructor, which takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, N, E, D, P, Q. If you understand the way that RSA encryption works, these numbers probably mean something to you. I don't really necessarily. So to me, they are just numbers. Some of them are pretty big, but they're numbers. But the thing about these numbers is they're special, and you can pass them into the constructor of private key, and it will create a private key object for you, much like this here. So these 5 numbers are easy for us to serialize, right? This is just another way to store effectively those same 5 numbers, if I understand it. Well, this is a public key, so it's only 2 numbers. So what I've done is just made JSON files that store these keys as the 5 numbers for the private key and 2 numbers for the public key. And then on the CircuitPython side, obviously we have access to JSON, so we can just read this JSON file, load all those values out of the list, and then pass them into the public key, private key constructors. And that's how we're storing and generating our keys here. So with that, I will jump into the actual device, working on actually doing it, just so that folks watching have some idea of like where I'm at, because I figured out a lot of this stuff and did it off stream. So if you do watch the prior streams, you won't see me working on this RSA JSON stuff. There is, I will say, if this is of interest to you, I did submit a pull request, which was merged already for an example that reads out of the JSON keys. So this is an example that reads the keys and then encrypts and decrypts a message. There's also keys checked in for you to test with. That's the example key I was showing you. There's another one that has the script that generates the keys as well. Which is really straightforward, honestly, because you can just access those PQ and ED or whatever. I don't know what all of them are, but you can access them from properties. So in order to generate keys, it's like the exact same line of code from the simple test. We generate the keys that way, and then we just dump them into a dictionary, JSON that. In my case, I'm just printing it so that I can copy paste it into a file. I have this page bookmarked that explains what those values are used for. Nice. Should read that someday. Let me get that. Let me get that from Discord app so that I can copy the link. Okay. Yeah, if anybody happens to like work for Discord or have a contact at Discord, if Discord web front end could like allow you to right click a link and copy the link, that would be awesome. Like every other page on the internet does. I believe Discord chat should do that. So if anyone's got that in, put in a +1 for the vote on Discord links should allow right click to copy link, just like every other link on the internet that hasn't been messed with. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I will read through this. My understanding of public key crypto is very much at a very, very high level using it. Like, can generate SSH keys. I can use them to log in. I can use Let's Encrypt with CertBot to generate certs. I can generate keys locally with OpenSSL. And I have figured out how to use it on CircuitPython. But the underlying bit of it is effectively black magic to me. You know, honestly, I was really surprised the other day when I first started playing with this. I didn't realize that if you encrypt the same thing twice, you won't get the same ciphertext. I guess you get different ciphertext every time you encrypt it, or at least a number of different times. But they all decrypt successfully, which I thought was fascinating. Okay. So that's how we're saving and loading keys. What we need in the actual project is to basically, we need to do a lot of this same work on the JavaScript side. So everything I've done so far has been Python, CircuitPython in terms of the keys. We have the JavaScript stuff for the Messenger app, but we don't have any kind of like crypto going on in the JavaScript yet. Actually, let me see. Does conversation exist? Did I? Let me turn on the camera here and let's see where we're at. We might need to do a little bit more on the Python side. Well, no, I can view the. I can start on the crypto, I guess. We could, because we can see the conversation on the other side. In fact, we might as well do the crypto first because the conversation page is going to have to decrypt. So if we make the conversation page now with plain text, then we are just going to have to go back and change it. Although I think the decryption shouldn't be too bad. And actually, I think maybe that doesn't matter because I think the way. So my plan right now is subject to change, first of all. But my plan right now is basically like encrypt the messages that are getting sent across the network. Then they get decrypted on the other end. And then on the handset side, I think what I'm going to do is store the decrypted version, the unlike public key decrypted version. But I think also that the files that I store all the data in, I believe I will encrypt with AES, which is not public key, it's symmetric key. But that will also be a step 2. For now, somewhat counterintuitively, we're going to encrypt the messages, send them across the network, decrypt them on the other side, and then store them in plain text. But one step at a time. Let me get the... Is it in static? Yeah. So let me get the... I almost want to like start breaking this into a JavaScript file. I don't know. We'll leave it for now. It's important because you don't want to get... let me see. It's important because you do not want to just cargo cult the values over and over. They would introduce a weakness. Cargo cult. I'm not sure what you mean cargo cult the values. The number values? I mean, you have to use, well, my understanding is I have to use the same numbers if you want the same key to keep working. Like if I were to go and change one of the numbers, then I think the key won't still work with the ciphertext, would it? Oh, lingo from work. I gotcha. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to like copy a key like this example key. You wouldn't want to copy those numbers and then use it for something like real. That's certainly true because the public and the private key are both published. I may just misunderstand what you mean. You want the same key generated, then you use the same values. Okay. Okay. I guess actually let's do the incoming encryption to the handset first. I think that's probably the easiest place to start in my head. So we do need to get into the JavaScript. Okay, so let's think about what we need. We need to send our public key to the page. Let's start there. That's nice and easy. We need to send our public key to the page. In order to be able to do that, we need to have a public key on the device, which I don't think I actually do on this device. Actually, there is keys here. Those are not JSON though, so we're going to change those out and get a different key that is JSON. And I am actually, even though I just got done saying that I'm not going to copy paste, I'll make a new one actually. Here we go. We'll make a new one. I am going to make a small one though, because I think the bigger the key, the longer it takes to encrypt and decrypt, and I don't want to wait that much while I'm developing. So like you could substitute a bigger key at the end for more security. I have, so the generate keys, there's a CircuitPython version, but there's also a thing I made here for Bash, which does it as well, but there's also a Python part here too. So I actually do have it set up to where I can just go create key and then give it a name like messenger 512 key, and then it will just do everything to create those. Oh, actually I forgot, I need to swap this out for convert. Let me do that now. And then since I didn't do that before, we're actually just going to run it manually. It needs to be the same thing, which was messenger key, no, messenger 512 key. Cannot type. There we go. Now we have JSON and JSON. Copy those. This is connection manager. I'm gonna put those into, I'm just gonna put them in keys for now. You could obviously store those in different places or more securely. Generating with OpenSSL toolchain is by far the best IMO. That means that you are not using self-created tools, as OpenSSL is very well maintained. Nice. Yeah, in this case, I do generate with OpenSSL with this script. It generates with OpenSSL, and then it uses this to get the public version. Let's see. So generate this. This creates the private version. No, okay. Oh, right. There was a traditional thing. That's right. So for Pi RSA, I found that we need a traditional format, whatever that means. So first step generates like new current format keys, I guess. This step converts those to traditional format. Well, it generates a private key, actually. So it generates private key only, then it converts that traditional. Then we finally make a public key from it using the Pi RSA. And then in my case, the last step is convert that now public and private file to JSON instead. Okay, so we have a public key, and what I'm going to do to pass it to the front end, I think, is just include the JSON. I would like to just include this JSON, like maybe as a header or something. So let's find our server stuff. Okay, so chat username when it's a get. Response. How do we add headers? Is it just headers? Okay. Does it need to be a string or? No, dictionary. Okay. So we're going to say, oh, but I don't really want headers, do I? I want like cookies. Is there cookies? Cookies, there is. Nice, that's what we want actually. I mean, cookies are stored in headers, but I don't, I want to go one level down. I don't want to like have to know the name of the header value for the cookies. Because I don't. Maybe it's cookies, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Pub key, that's going to be what we read out of our file. So f equals open keys, the messenger, pub, JSON. We can readability on that, and then that's just going to be, I guess we want a JSON. JSON loads because it wants a dictionary. F.read, F.close. Okay, we have cookies as a dictionary now. We're going to be like 2 layers deep on this, I think, which is a little awkward, but that's fine. Response, render, status, content. We'll put that, I think, here before status. Cookies, cookies. Let's see if it works. I need a TO. I think, was this not my TO? It is. Do you have width available in CircuitPython? Yes, but I don't like to use it. It's the short answer. Yeah, like this can be width as... I just don't prefer it personally. I know that's probably sacrilegious or whatever, but... I find there's some use cases where I want to have the file open across like different functions, like open the file in the initializer and then like use the stuff, use it from some other thing. I don't know. I found too many cases where this annoyed me and I stopped using it, is kind of the short version. I don't know. I never found it like... I never got burned by this, I guess. Like, I guess the context thing is supposed to help you not wreck yourself by accidentally not closing or something, but I never have felt the pain from this, and I have felt the pain from this when I wanted to, like, split my code across different functions, which was probably bad coding. Like, it's still probably my problem, but that's just my experience with it, is I have gotten annoyed by that way and not this way. But I think Pylint would cry about it too. So if I ever check this in, it would make me change it, and I would at that point probably change it and just gripe about it to myself a little bit. That's fair. I'll change it for you. Here we go. We'll go back. I already wrote it, so I might as well. Okay, yeah, let's see if that works. So we need to go to chat, and then any user, we should probably, just to be safe, maybe pick a user that already exists instead of like making up a new one, although it might not actually matter. What I'm going to do is just go to list users since I have that page now. I think we'll go with another. I think another was a fine one. Some of these are broken. Some of them have like weird stuff stored in the file that breaks when it tries to load. So I do need to know the IP 129. 92 129. Did we get our cookie? Yeah. Nice. I wish I could just see like the data more easily. Okay, I mean, it looks fine. So in our cookies, we have pub key, which has a value that is a string, because cookies store strings, I think. So in our JavaScript, we need to load that string in, parse it, and we need to figure out how we can build keys from it on the JavaScript side. First, we need to re-up the music. Read cookie from JS. Document.cookies. Yes. I mean, I'd really rather not work with a string, I guess. Can you access them? Is that the best solution, really? Basically, yes. How is there not like a dictionary style accessor? Thank you. JavaScript is crazy to me sometimes. Like, I mean, I guess there's a library for it. I suppose that's how it goes, right? Okay, let me save that. Let me refresh and just run it to make sure I understand what it does. Okay, and then I think we would actually need this. So JSON doesn't allow single quotes, does it? Why is that like that? Didn't we JSON dumps? JSON loads. Okay, let me do a simpler one. Yeah, I kind of pretty much agree with that, I would say. I mean, it's grown on me, like, I used to think worse of it, but yeah. I would be lying if I didn't say some part of me felt the same. What did I say? Simple key? Maybe this is already working more than I thought it was. Maybe that already made it cookies. I mean, maybe that should actually just be the string. That should probably just be the string, right? It wants a dictionary, so I was like, maybe we load that too, but honestly, we don't need to. And that is a string now, right? So I cannot do this. Well, okay, I can because it's JavaScript, but I get undefined. I would need to parse. Then we could do that. Okay. Ooh, I wonder if that's gonna wreck us. I mean, I think that's just like a visual thing, right? Hopefully that's just a visual thing. Yeah. All right, so we are gonna ultimately need to find a JavaScript crypto thing, and I have a place to look, but we will also maybe look around a bit further. Let me also try to find one of these that has less messages already. Let's try to go back to like hello or Steve. I want one that won't have to scroll as far. This might be one that's broken. The server might be broken. Huh. It's still pretty long. Okay, so hello must be one of the ones that's broken then, because yeah, this one died. Got a memory error. Maybe it has too many. Could have too many. One thing we'll do eventually is not render so much. All right, well, Steve's pretty short, so we'll go with Steve for now. So I happen to know of this project because I found it before and made a PR for it. Therefore, I'm a little bit familiar with it. So we're going to look at that. Something to reference. If anyone's interested, this thing is a pretty neat concept. It's basically like a secret sharing tool. You go to the page effectively generates you a public-private key pair. You take this URL here, you share it to whoever you want to get the message from. That person loads up this URL, they're able to type in their message, they get back another URL, which they can then share back to you. And you have to load it in the same browser where you created this. So like your private key is stored, either local storage or cookies or whatever. Your private key is stored in there though, and you have to load that link that they send back to you in the same browser session. And if you do, then it will decrypt it for you, which is kind of interesting. There's a little picture of how it goes. So I think we want probably crypto more than app. because this just calls encrypt string. What is public key though? So this is view, if I recall right, which I don't necessarily, yeah. I've messed with a little bit. I started trying to learn view at one point, but the open source project that I was interested in learning it for kind of disappeared. I mean, it didn't disappear, but it kind of became not as open source anymore, to the best of my knowledge, which limited my ability to try to work on it, so I lost interest in view as a result. Generate key pair equals value. Load key. Public key equals value. So load key is a promise, and then when it finishes, it calls this function with value. Value will be the public key. But we don't necessarily get to know what kind of thing it is. So load key does import JWT key deserialize. So they are storing their keys in a different format. Where does import window.crypto.subtle? Import key. Is that a built-in, I mean, window, right? It must be a built-in thing. Why is there a capital one? I don't seem to have a subtle. This is in JWT token toolset, JW token toolset. Sounds like how crypto wallets work. So is that a separate library, or is that a, like, how does this get filled in? I don't see any like imports or I know. How does view anything top levels? There's Y style. Anything on index maybe could load more stuff. I see. Okay, yeah, it's loading a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's all CSS script. It has jQuery, Popper, Bootstrap, Vue, Crypto. No, but that's Crypto.js, local file. I don't have any other loads. JWT token. Full set. How does it get linked into the front end, though? It has very little code in it. I don't see. I think this is backend though, right? This is not going to work in the front end, will it? Like this code here is a front end JavaScript file. This runs in the browser as far as I understand it. A lot of small tools in this space. I only know them in passing. I gotcha. I is weird that it has that subtle. I don't understand where it would have got that. Return await window crypto subtle import key. Let's try searching that, see where that gets us. So there's a gen key also, and an export key. I wonder if this allows exporting in the way that we're storing. Maybe we should be trying to store that base64 way. Oh. Okay, we're not going to be able to use it because we're not going to be in HTTPS. Ah, I see. MPGN. It's on web key. Subject public key info. Okay. So that is what that other project uses, which doesn't necessarily work for us because we're not going to be inside HTTPS. So we are not going to get access to that window.subtle crypto thing. WTIO. Some web token libraries. I found one. Let me search for this one I found the other day. I think there's one JS encrypt. So this one is weird to me because it's not. This looks like we could maybe use it, but it doesn't look like it has like a public key and a private key object or class or anything like that, right? It's saying set public key and then it's just giving it a raw string, in this case value from a text area. But inside of there, it must be loading that into something that's sort of more like a key, right? JS encrypt. This is like widely used as well. It's good. Source JS encrypt. Instructor. I don't do a lot of TypeScript reading, so we'll see how this goes, but okay, so those are just setting straight through. There's no like processing happening on that string when you set it. Encrypt hardly does this key. Oh, encrypt. Okay, so key, this dot get key dot encrypt. What is get key? Get key. New JS encrypt RSA key. Okay, then we do have a key object. So the key is that. Write the key. This dot key. Get key. All right, I'm gonna give this one an attempt here. This is TypeScript though. I do need the built one. Okay, that's here. Apologies if I'm making things more confusing by not knowing JavaScript. No problem. Honestly, I appreciate every bit of input I get. No JavaScript, don't know JavaScript. Any which way is all good with me. Only mention JWT because everyone I know uses crypto and JavaScript uses it via JSON Java Web Tokens. Right, but you can load the string value from the cookie, the page of the value. Yeah. Yeah, loading it doesn't matter where it comes from. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to load it from the numbers. Yeah, hoping I'm going to be able to load it from the numbers, although that's looking a little bit awkward right now, isn't it? Maybe let's search, what were those numbers called? So those are like concepts throughout this. So maybe if we search JavaScript create public key from, and then is it P and N or whatever? I should change the, I don't know, I'm not actually sure why that gets the blink of fave icon. I should change the fave icon. Did I set that? Maybe we set that. Oh, I think I did. We just pointed it back to the web workflow one. I think that's what happened. N and E. Okay, JS create public key or load. Maybe let's say load, or I think create public key from N and E. Yeah, that is true of me as well. We're in this together, Donggua Liu. Apologies if I messed up your name. This is Node, though, which I don't... And this is going to work in the front end also. It's much easier to build fake JWK, which is supported 1510, but that's like a node, I think. Crypto create public key. I think that probably does not work for us, right? Generate public key. Yeah, we might be having this problem quite a bit of... A lot of these are relying on that crypto that's built in, which is good, but not so much for our case. So everyone in Node.js uses fake JWT and all the proven secure tools. So are these, they just took the int and base64 and coded it? I don't need, not node. Can I like minus node? So I guess I'm probably kind of screwed the fact that there is a built-in thing for this. means there's unlikely to be good libraries, right? I wish we could read the PEM from CircuitPython. It would be nice to be able to just use this known kind of format. Qutil? The key's already generated. Am I wrong? Like, doesn't this not make any sense? Because this person has the key generated already, because they have these numbers? This will create a new key. That is completely not the question that was asked, though, if I'm... Okay. This is not JavaScript. I don't know what's going on here. This is going to be the built-in one. Why can we not use that from HTTP? Can I like add it separately? Is there JavaScript code behind it that I can add? I don't really understand why it wouldn't be available to use it all under HTTP. Maybe it's a Firefox problem? I mean, I don't want to do it if it's only supported in one browser either, though. Oh man, I really wish there was like a front-end library that made this basically the same as what we have in Python. Yes, 2. I would like to do 2. Please show me how to do 2. Oh. Yes. Parse properties from. Nice. Upvote this person. Thank you. Biggest reason that pure JavaScript doesn't have the tools to generate secure crypto is but I mean it does, right? I mean that is untrue, right? Because window.crypto is pure JavaScript, unless I'm misunderstanding what you mean. It's just has seemed to have arbitrarily disallowed its usage under HTTP. Then the tools generate secure crypto. So there's a big push to only reference web crypto as the browser reaches into the lower OS. But I don't get why web crypto is disabled for HTTP. Like, it seems like everything is structured for, like, use web crypto, and then when you're on HTTP, it's like you can't. So you get no encryption instead of some encryption. Seems worse to me, but I probably am oversimplifying it to a large degree. Yeah, the restriction on the HTTP is the bit that I don't really get. Like, it seems like there is good built-in crypto in JavaScript, if I'm understanding that window.crypto.subtle thing, which I think is what you're calling web crypto. It seems like it's there, and that's the recommendation, but it just doesn't work if your browser, or rather, it doesn't work if your page is on HTTP. This is not really CircuitPython, so we're going to go other. In fact, it's not even that it's not really CircuitPython, it's just straight up not CircuitPython in any way, shape, or form. Hit clone that one. What would that have tried to do? What was that looking for? Is there any syntax where you can go get clone and then something that's not like HTTP? S or whatever? Interesting. Okay, that is web crypto. Okay. That's the new push to HTTPS only. All modern browsers have push to. Apart from the larger attack vector in HTTP, it's probably just not worth considering anything related to security or key generation, decryption on insecure hosted sites. I guess I just don't get the, like, okay, it's not worth considering, but, like, where's the downside in turning it on? I'm not really seeing a downside in turning it on for HTTP. In my mind, any encryption is better than none. Otherwise, there's an illusion of security. Interesting. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that, because, like, the page is still HTTP and the browser still, like, puts the big warning in front of your face, and, like... And, like, the thing is, like, if it is HTTP, that means your traffic is not encrypted. But if you're encrypting the important bits of your messages, like, is that not better? I don't see how pure plaintext is better than some plaintext and some encrypted. In my mind, some plaintext and some encrypted is better than pure plaintext from the security perspective. I already cloned this. I can have other HTTP things access local storage as well as traffic, potentially. Bad crypto is worse than no encryption. It's not bad crypto, though, unless you're saying that the web crypto implementation is bad. But I'm taking it at face value that's good, since that's what they're telling everyone to use. Like, by disabling it, it's effectively saying you need to encrypt your stuff twice. You need to encrypt your stuff with the API and with the transport layer. Otherwise, you might as well not bother encrypting it at all, which to me doesn't make sense. Like, I think there's a case that encrypting your stuff once does make sense. Not the least of which because we're on a microcontroller which can't really do HTTPS, practically speaking. So, like, the other alternative option is not really an option, practically speaking. So it just doesn't make sense to me to just say you can't use it just because. Right. Yeah, that's what we'll end up with here. Yeah, everything here is HTTP, but we can take, the most important parts of our communication and we can encrypt that separately with the client code. And in my mind, that's better than pure plain text. And that's an option that's not very easy to do because of the way that they disabled that web crypto for HTTP pages. I can have other nefarious HTTP things access a local... Oh, I already said that, I think. Yeah, and that's still true. But the thing is, like, if you let me encrypt my stuff, then when you access it, you won't be able to read it. Like, I guess in my mind, the fact that HTTPS is good and preferred and best practice, to me, means, like, web crypto also is good and should be preferred and should be best practice. But there's this weird, like, all or none thing. Like, you have to have all or you get none. I totally agree. I mean, I totally agree with that last bit, Tyth. Like, it's up to... I believe it should be the user's choice. So like, even if that wanted to be defaulted to false, right? Like, what if there was, when you are on HTTP, if you try to access this thing from JavaScript, then instead of undefined, what you get is one of those little pop-ups, right? Like whenever you try to use a microphone or whatever, right? What if it just gave you one of those pop-ups and said, hey, JavaScript... Sorry, that was probably loud, my bad. JavaScript just tried to access, crypto subtle. Hopefully we have a name that users will understand. Ordinarily, we recommend not to do this, but you can do it if you want. Click the, okay, I understand. I'd be cool with that. Like, that's totally fine too. It's bizarre to me that it's like fully gone, doesn't exist when you're on HTTP. I should actually so like everything I based this entire thing on, I have not actually checked. Maybe it could also just be my browser in general. I mean, I'm sure it does though, right? It must, right? Windows? No, Windows here? Yeah, okay. Totally does. Okay, yeah. So it is definitely just not working HTTP, which just feels like a bizarre choice to me. But I also will say, like, I don't know anything, right? There's probably a person a million times smarter than me who thought about this and decided what they decided. Just because it's inconvenient to me does not, mean that it's probably the way it should be. I grant that I'm just me wishing it worked so that it was easier for me to write this code. There's probably good reasons for it. Different to microphone, yep. I don't know how to do that though, right? How can I, so like Let's Encrypt. I'm very familiar with Let's Encrypt and using it to generate certificates on servers. But in order to generate a Let's Encrypt certificate on a server, that server has to be on the public internet. And so when you generate that certificate, then the Let's Encrypt server sends a request to your server to do its thing, right? So how can I get the Let's Encrypt server to see my microcontroller, right? I don't have a public IP for it. I don't know how to do that without being on the internet on a public server, on a server that has a public IP. and not even a public IP, but a domain name, right? I would need to like register a domain name that points to my microcontroller and have it actually resolve somehow, and I have no idea how to do that. People who wrote Subtle say that you use a tool like ngrok to put an HTTP server behind an HTTPS gateway. That's what ngrok is for. I'll have to look into that. I'm not familiar with ngrok at all. Static up needed, really? Also own domain? Oh, static IP needed. Also own the domain. Then use DNS record, auth, copy, PEM to MCU. Not sure I follow. Basically, like you have the public IP, you have a real actual public IP, you create a cert for it, you copy that cert to the microcontroller, and then on your local network, you have the microcontroller take that public IP. And on your local network, you can control the DNS, so you can point that IP to your local microcontroller rather than the real public one. Maybe that's what you're saying. It sounds in my head like it could work, I guess. I never really thought it all the way through. Something Adafruit.io could be used for? That would be cool. That would be really cool, actually. If you could somehow set it up to where Adafruit.io could be like an HTTPS in front of microcontroller web servers, that would be super cool. Yeah, I'd be interested in setting this up one of these days. I just don't know. All of my experience has been on actual servers. I don't even know where I left off. Sorry, I've been blabbing a lot more than I've been coding today, huh? Okay, no, we did find the good example, though. Right, yes. Give me back to this example. Where was that? This is what we want right here. So one thing that's different, this is, looks like hex to me. So we're going to need to get our number to hex, but that should be easy. This one could be hex, but it's tough to say, right? So we'll have to play with that and see how that works. Can you use, do imports work like this? Yeah, I'm not huge on this kind of import syntax stuff, because I have no idea how to put this in the server, especially the microcontroller server. All right, we're gonna try something here, because another thing that would be nice is I would also prefer to use a CDN, which is obviously like probably something you would not really want to do with your encryption library, but I don't really want to load it from the microcontroller because it will take time. I have no idea how big it is. We could host our own like CDN copy of it if we really wanted. So can I get by without the import now that I've done that? It'd be really nice if I don't need this stuff. I don't think that's gonna work. Parse big int I think is gonna fail still. Let's try it. My tabs are out of control already. Yeah, parse big int's not defined. I have a VPS server running webmin virtualmin, controlling DNS for a domain. I set the subdomain for like local IP 150. Have let's encrypt generate a cert. I copy that. Search of the ESP32. Valid name site IP. Difficulty is when having an offline network. ESP AP. Need to resolve the name to IP or static route hardcode server address or MDNS. It all sounds interesting and intriguing, but if I'm honest, I don't really follow all the way. I would love like it sounds like this is a process you've done before. If you ever have the inclination to post like a video or a markdown file or a playground or any kind of like walkthrough of how you've done that, I'd be super curious to read through it. With all of that, I use ngrok, poke a hole out to the server I run in the cloud. Okay, so I think we need the stuff from in here, right? Because that was trying to load like big, trying to load, what was it? I mean, I guess we could try with the import. The thing is, like, I really don't want to use the imports, right? I don't know if you can import from CDN. I don't really know the import syntax. Kind of got a bunch of reasons not to use the imports. I do need to see which file that was from, though. So JS-encrypt liblib, JSBN, JSBN. So let's grab that also. That's probably not going to be in the CDN. Because you can't JavaScript all. Because that's like inside there, huh? I don't know how to do that. It's got 4 known vulnerabilities. That's not good. I mean, we could maybe use GitHub as a CDN by getting the raw JS file. How big is that one? Big. Basic JavaScript BN library. Maybe that's on the CDN also? No. I don't know for sure if that's gonna be the right thing. Weird that it's index, but maybe that's just how it works. I wasn't scrolled down. Okay. Well, we failed at the imports. The imports are after this, but before the rest of the code that tries to do anything. I'm gonna comment those out. Oh, we also have some stuff that doesn't work. Why is that? What? No, stop. What is going on? Oh no, those are fine. Okay, I don't know. Those were red a minute ago, but I guess it was while something else was still broken. I'm gonna clear this. First begins not defined. I'm gonna just put the min.js data at the bottom of your HTML. Because I don't want to load it through the microcontroller. Is the main reason. It's like 1,800 lines of stuff. Well, unminified, I guess. This one doesn't have minified ones. I'm not 100% sure if it's actually the right thing that I've just loaded, truthfully. In fact, it's not. I mean, it must not, because this says Andy Perlitic, and this says Tom Wu. I don't even think these are the same things. Oh, wait. Spoke too soon. Spoke too soon. Doesn't seem like this is gonna work anyway, though, because this loaded. It's like the import syntax is different somehow. I don't know what SRI is. No. It's trying to use parse big number or whatever. What was it? Parse big int. But that doesn't exist in here. Is this the wrong file again? All right. I also got to run to the restroom, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay. This doesn't have that function. Can I copy just that function? Does it rely on a million other things? Relies on big integer. So that's why this didn't work, because that's like exported instead of just existing, right? So it has to be used with import. But I don't know how to use import with the microcontroller. So we got that error before. It said something like imports not allowed outside a top level. Talked about it before, but JavaScript bothers me sometimes. I don't understand why it's got to be like this isn't gonna work, right? Can I do just one? I don't even know where these would have to be. Because it's trying to say JS crypt, so we need like this whole thing. I don't really want this whole thing though. I want like lib, I guess, only. It's JS encrypt. I don't think you need to use parse begin. I don't know how to make the code like not use it. What is all this? I shouldn't have copied all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to changing it, but I don't know how to do that either. Did I take the imports out? Or do the imports work now? I have only one import. It seems to have worked, though. We are having a bit of a boot loop, so that's not necessarily ideal. All right, there we go. Okay, I think that was the editor like saving the file or something. I don't really know. We don't get that import error. Did we load that file? I don't know how imports work. Like, how does the network? Does the network traffic work? See, this is all kinds of stuff. I don't think that worked. I didn't refresh, I guess. Just encrypt them in. Next. Port declarations may only appear at the top level of a module. Okay, so that fails. Can't do import. I don't know how to import. Oh. If I just do parse int, why is this gray? Unused import. It's not unused, it's unworking. It doesn't even work. I don't know what a top level module is or whatever it said. False? Why did it say false? Oh. I mean, it seems like it might have loaded, I guess, but the encryption failed because it just says false. Okay, that is hex. Caught the exception. Boy, isn't that a nice piece of code? How do you print tracebacks? What was that? What's this? What was that? Excuse me? What is that? Why did that happen? Where did that come from? Well, that's reassuring. Don't really like that. Console.trace. But that's not going to work because I can't change this code because we're not loading this code from here. I don't know how much further I want to chase this particular library, but it also feels really bad to have basically wasted a chunk of time trying to work on it if I give up on it now. But I must say, I'm not super impressed by the library. I haven't even gotten it to work. But I definitely would do some stuff differently if I had the choice. I'm in the wrong file. Alright, I don't think we need this. And I guess we want to get this from somewhere else. This is not the right thing to load, though, I don't think. JS encrypt. That one's in bin. So there's source, which is TypeScript. There's lib, which includes JS encrypt. Could I maybe skip the main library and just use the key? No. I don't even know which one of these I need to be serving. Also, none of them are minified, like the one... I guess I could just download the one from the CDN? I'm just gonna put it at the root of static. So it should just be like that, I think, or maybe it needs /static. I'm not sure, or maybe it just won't work. I don't know. Let's see. .404. Do I have static root set on the server? No, that's the problem. It's not called static root. Root path. Static. I guess the template doesn't need that in order to work. Why is this covering up a bunch of the screen? I don't know how web developers do it, man. Doesn't? You sure? JS. Oh, that's fascinating. Still 404. Should it not have a slash? Maybe it shouldn't have a slash. Use the code inside that helper function. I'm not sure what I was looking at when you said that. Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, 37. That was a couple of minutes ago. Still 404. Okay, that can't work because it's definitely not chat Steve. That definitely can't be it. Slash, I would have thought it was it. I'm gonna close some of these indiscriminately without care for what's in them. But it was nothing important. I'm not sure if I need to do this. Okay, that worked. Which means it should be using my customized one with the stack trace. But it's still just printed false. Public key. No, that's just a cookie stuff. We don't care about that. Still just printed false. Not save that change. I think I didn't save. But this is minified. Okay, we're gonna unminify this, I guess. That can't work though, because all the variables are just gone. Oh, you're doing now what I was thinking back then. Nice. Man. See mode production? I don't even know what that means, mode production. Are they checked into the repo? Are they on the release page, maybe? Thanks. No. Maybe, but it's just source code. It's gonna be the same thing we have in the repo. Probably. Let's check. Yeah. And because I don't really know anything about JavaScript development, I don't know what file in there is the actual file. So it's either bin JSCrypt or it's lib JSEncrypt. Or it is something else. Or it possibly doesn't even exist and you have to build it from this TypeScript one. What is the example link? None. How does this work? How does this exist? Are you trying to? No. Yeah, no HTTPS. Not doing anything with HTTPS. Yep. Bears got it right. We are on HTTP. We're trying to encrypt data, manually encrypt data that we're sending. I mean, really specifically, we're trying to create our key object from the N and the E values, which is how we have to do it in CircuitPython, but not how it's done in a lot of other places. So that's like step 0.01 to being able to encrypt our messages, is be able to actually load a key from these values. See, this is more common. Like loading keys this way is how everything I've found so far is meant to work, except for the CircuitPython thing. It has to load them a different way. I'm trying to be able to load them the same way. I don't get how this gets included. That's weird. Oh, okay, that's just the end of the... Okay. We have no other scripts. But there's demo. Demo must be example, you would think, right? No, demo is demo, I guess. Demo index. This has exactly one script tag, and it's ads by Google. Has this, which is not valid HTML. There's probably some layer on top of this. But this seems like it shouldn't work to me, right? Because nothing in this HTML file, like, imports this or whatever. I don't understand how it just exists. Oh, wait. There is a minified one, which means this is probably the one. Okay. I wish it wouldn't do that. This is a thing that PyCharm does that bothers me, actually, is it gives you these foldouts for this file to make it look like the file is a folder when it's not actually a folder, it's a file. In fact, it's two files. Magic of Webpack. Yeah, there must be some layer on top of this that is like injecting stuff into it somehow. In fact, this is going to be useless, right? This is all just these things. What is this? This is terrible. I don't want any of this. What? What? See, and because these are like now interlocked, I can't just delete one. Why is that like that? Is that how this one is? We can't tell. Yes, so. Eval? There's no eval. How can the minified one of this be the minified one of this when this has a million calls to eval? Doesn't minify just take out white space? Yeah, no, I'm 1,000,000% on board with that right now. I am so thoroughly confused. Okay, hold on. Let's get back to the CDN. Was there a CDN of a non-minified one? And if so, does it have all that stupid eval stuff in it? I think there was. Okay, this is the code. This is the actual code for the actual library that lets you use the code to run the library. Not the code that does whatever that other code does. So I feel like we're perhaps taking small steps in the correct direction. Why did this not why did this download something weird? Okay, there's where our second one of these came from last time. It's not the right repo. All right, I think we might be able to see the error. That took an uncomfortably long time to save. I'm a little worried. Just encrypt is not defined. I think I didn't. Yeah, I didn't point back to the right one for one thing. I don't know why that said not defined, because it should be defined. I don't know if this I don't know if we want this stuff. In fact, I don't think we want any of this. Let's get all of this out of here. But we also don't want the minified one anymore. We want the modified one, not the minified one. All right, that succeeded. Stack trace. This .in.bit length is not a function. My guess is that that is our big integer thing, probably, right? Because I changed this from parse big int. I'm guessing that it has a, what was that, bit length? Okay. Not a coffee. Trying to think what I even want to do next. How do I want to approach this next? Yeah, I don't know if I can really. I have their code, but I don't really speak this type of JavaScript. And I get the sense it's gonna spiral if I try to start doing it because of the way this is importing from util. So if I start trying to like cut this out into its own file that doesn't need to be used with import, I think we're gonna end up having to cut all of this out. My assumption is that's going to just keep spiraling outwards, each one of these. Actually, this looks like all of these ones are only in here, which is not too bad. So that part's good. Can I just take this var big int? Or can I just take all of these without the export and dump them in another file? I don't know how JavaScript works, really, at this level. Actually, there's no export. Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. Exported right after that. If I just copied, but it still doesn't have the rest of the code that it needs. I presume all this other stuff is getting used in there. No, I'm not trying to do anything with HTTPS. No HTTPS whatsoever. The only reason that HTTPS came into the discussion today is because of the web browser's choice to disallow you to use web crypto when you are not serving under HTTPS. I am not intending to use HTTPS for any part of this project. Okay. I will give it a try. Should put all of this stuff near each other. I don't know why I'm scrolling up and down, but... Okay, we have big integer class. We have parse big int. Is this yellow? Nope. Okay, this is... seems to think it's okay. Save that. Let's give it a try. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I don't want to work around the. I don't want to host under HTTPS. It would be like, well, it might be nice. It definitely would be nice to be able to use the actual, like, blessed crypto API rather than third-party ones. The caveat on that is, though, I also don't know if that web crypto API, since I couldn't actually use it, I don't know if it does support creating your keys from the numbers like I'm trying to do. I'm not sure if that loaded. Oh, we died. So I think, see, now our problem, I think, is that I have too much code, basically. I think we got a memory error when we try to load the page. Yeah. Now our page has too much code on it. Oy, that's getting to me right now. I don't even know, like, I literally don't even know what I was about to create because of that thing just messing up my right click 4 times in a row or whatever it just did. I probably got to stop pretty soon. Okay, JSBN, that's what I'm trying to create. Take this stuff, put it over here, and then load that like this. And then if this works, theoretically, we could still host this on a server. Our own copies of it. Okay, both of those got 200 at least, so that's like maybe good. Int at is not defined. Int at. So is that one of those ones from util? Oh, I totally just closed that and I didn't mean to. Okay, but that's still there, which is kind of nice. It's really not what I wanted, where I was last time. Where's the actual code? This dot from string. Where's int at? That doesn't say int at. Int at, there it is. Okay, so is that in, what is up with That looks a little funky to my eye, but I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. All JavaScript looks a little funky to my eye, so yeah, it's definitely getting very close. I think int at, is that one of these? If it is, then we are not too bad off, but it's not. Int to char, okay. Is int at function char codes by RC. This is gonna need this thing, which is what is this? Digit conversions. Do no export. In bits. I will try, let's say at most, like 2 more of these. And then probably give up for now. Message too long for RSA. H is null. So we got out of, the error is no longer in JSBN. X to B64? What is this? Is this? What is this? Oh, right. That's no longer, it's probably just not printable or whatever. It doesn't look like it worked right though, right? Because those look like defaults or whatever. Null, basically. Each is null. Okay. So we pulled in enough of JSBN that it can actually execute, which for JavaScript, I guess, is not saying much because like it will really, really try to execute no matter what you give it. But that's a good sign, I think. But I do think we're still probably missing like actual functionality. Our code runs, but doesn't actually do what it's supposed to. And then because it doesn't actually do what it's supposed to, it doesn't actually load that big int correctly, then the cascade effect, I think, is that this fails because basically the private key is bad, wrong, or not the private key, but the big number from the public key, whichever number that was. H or N or E or whatever. It's not E, I'm pretty sure. I think it's N or H. This is saying H. I think it's N though, right? Wasn't it NE? Then like PQD or something? So I feel like we're like kind of closer. I feel like basically it ran, but the number that came out of this wasn't really correct. And then we used it to try to encrypt, decrypt, and then it failed because it wasn't correct. So maybe if we like... I wish I could like use JavaScript comments. I need to figure out how to set that somewhere. So if we just do this, it should not crash, I think. And then we can like, can I look at N? Is there anything like useful on this? C bits not defined. Byte value -1. Int value -1. C-bit. I mean, I would surely need those ones from util, I suppose. Was that one of them? No, L-bit. Oh, it is, and C-bit. All right, I will try. I think I do want to try those. Yeah, I do want to try these, but I also got to run to the restroom again. So I'm going to do that. I'll be back. I'll try that, and then I'll probably wrap it up after that. One thing I should test at some point is outside of the microcontroller. Take the microcontroller out of the equation and try running a basic example that uses the CDN JS encrypt, and then if that works outside of the microcontroller, then I would think there must be a way we could make it work inside the microcontroller. It's weird that the CDN doesn't pull in those other dependencies, right? Like, this is weird how it's structured where JS encrypt is the library, the main library, but then there's also like lib, and then there's a bunch of things in here that aren't, they're like, I don't know how, like, I don't know where they exist. Are they part of this project, or are they like third-party dependencies? Either way, though, they're separated into their own files here. And I don't get how the CDN one could load successfully ever. But if I try it and it works, then maybe there's a way to do it in the microcontroller as well. Right. Yep, basically that, yeah, which is pretty much what the example is. Or the other place was we could copy it from that issue, wherever it was at. There's that issue we found earlier where I actually stole this code that it's loading from. I could take that code, basically, the exact code that's on that page. I've changed it some. and pasted it into here, but export. I think I have to take all the exports off of these. The other thing I guess I will maybe attempt at some point if I'm unsuccessful, and maybe at this point even if I am successful, because it'd be nice not to have to make all these changes, but I might try to figure out how to use this export import thing. I need to refresh my mind on it. I've used it before, have a vague idea of how it works, but need to refresh my mind. So, because if we can just use it that way, even though it's not the way that I prefer to write my code, I would still probably do it if it worked. All right, so this time, yeah, I mean, nothing, we're still kind of in the same spot. And this should work this time though, 32-bit count, so that actually works now. So I think we're still not loading. I think still somehow we're not loading, right? Add, can I just like add 2 and then see what it, NBI. Yeah, I think there's still stuff we're missing. NBI. Came from JSBN. Yeah, it'd be nice to not have to copy paste all of these around, truthfully. If I can get it to work with the imports, I'll probably get it to work with the imports. Because I'm never gonna be able to do this a second time without struggling just as much, basically, right? This is not really a sustainable way for this to work, I think. We have objects that aren't giving exceptions anymore, so that's good. But I do think still somehow they're not actually working because we're not having a big number. Instead, we're having like 0 or -1. All right. I think I will stop there for now. I am definitely ready to get up and move around and do some other stuff for a while. I'll probably come at this from a bit of a different angle the next time I sit down because, truth be told, I don't want to have to copy paste all this stuff over, and ideally I don't want to have to serve it from the microcontroller. You saw earlier we had a memory out of error thing when we were trying to serve it, so like I get the sense the amount of code here, it's not really great to serve it from the microcontroller. If there's any way we can make it work CDN style with the library on the internet, that's what we want. So that's probably the angle I will come from when I sit down on it next. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I appreciate your help as well. Appreciate everyone hanging out in the chat. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day, good weekend, and all that stuff. I will be back for sure next week on Saturday at the usual time, 10 a.m. Central Time. I haven't heard anything about Deep Dive as far as I know. Deep Dive is Scott this week, so check that out on Friday, but I'll be back for Saturday. So take it easy, everybody. I will catch you later.